In South Africa, we say, you bring $1, we take 80 cents, we tax you for this, and then when you're successful, we take half of that and give it to somebody else. And by the way, we don't like you because you're a capitalist pig. You can see why we don't win.
Today, I'm with one of mining's most outspoken and influential business leaders, none other than Bernard Zero Bullshit Swanepoel, a man who has led mining companies from assets that people label dogs to listing the company on the New York Stock Exchange. Bernard, thank you for being here and thank you for your time.
My privilege.
So, when was the first time you got to a mine or worked underground?
So we were forced to work even in our first VAC, like 6 months. Yeah, first year VAC work. They sent us to Kloof. Hot, dangerous, madness. I mean, if I had any choices, I probably at that point would have switched to something else. No. So that was the time when you were exposed to underground. And remember, South African mining industry those days. I mean, we dominated gold. We were 80% of the world's gold production. Our mines were deep and hot and dangerous. And so that was the industry I joined.
And it only got hotter as we got deeper, eh?
Yeah, but the technology of cooling is world class. I mean, nobody gets exposed to the conditions of 1980 anymore. I mean, technology, has the in situ rock temperatures, of course, still hot, but we don't expose people to those conditions.
I got a piece of the gold reef from 4.5 kilometers down back when Boneng was only. It's gone deeper now, but excellent.
Still the deepest mine in the world. Yeah, we should be proud of that.
Now, then came your amazing rise to running how many at the age of 35?
I still had to do military service. I came out of the army after 2 years. And the National Union of Mine Workers under Cyril Ramaphosa just got recognized through a legal process after strikes, illegal and other strikes, at Marievale. Marievale was a division of Grootvlei. Grootvlei was the mine I happened to be sent to. Those were not the days where you said, I want to go. They told you where you go. So I got the bursary in the platinum side of the company. After my military service, I was sent to the gold side. Marginal gold mine, National Union of Mine Workers just took over. A whole generation of managers who could afford left the industry. They were not going to take this nonsense of black people suddenly have a voice, suddenly telling, it was just a really seismic shift. And so, as a youngster, I stepped into an industry where the rules have changed. I didn't know the old rules. I could not fantasize about the good old days. I stepped into a new set of rules and was a beneficiary of that. There were more vacancies than candidates. Candidates were constrained because you had to be a white graduate, So we, a generation, me and others, got sucked up into senior positions.
Did you find a bit of a brain drain because of that?
Yeah. No. Listen, the industry and the political environment, there are regular moments when more people leave than what come in. I obviously was a beneficiary of that, and therefore when it happens now, I say it's not all bad. You will get people who get sucked a little bit faster than otherwise. But what happens if you start to run a company at 35? You haven't become like the guy before you. So the model of you step into dead man's shoes means at 50, you finally get the job of the guy that was there for the 10 years before you. And you only get the job because you became exactly like him. Now, that's not transformation, that's not progress. And so myself, Steve Kearney and others were really just the beneficiaries of a system that sucked us up. And then, of course, you can fail or succeed from there. But the opportunity to be given big jobs at a young age. Listen, I personally worked hard. So I don't want to say it was, of course you have to still work hard, but you first have to get the opportunity and then work hard in order to get to that.
And who was instrumental in your rise internally? I assume you were at Harmony when you...
No, this is all Genco. So this took me to where in my early 30s, I became a general manager, and a very important person in my life, PDK Robinson. He was the consulting engineer, and he looked after me. He was open-minded that young people may just possibly be the future, not the problem. And so he then asked, nobody ever asked me, he told me to become the general manager of Beatrix. Beatrix was the flagship mine of Genco Group, the neighboring mine to Harmony. And so I was running Beatrix, and we had great fun. And about a year into me running Beatrix, the crowd that started all the shareholder revolts in South Africa, where they started the Rand mines and they wanted to do things differently at Rand Gold, and Rand Gold owned these basket case gold mines, Durban Roodepoort Deep, Blyvoorheidse, Harmony amongst others, East Rand, ERPM. And, old Roger Cable, bless his soul, he asked me to come and run Harmony. So I then went from general manager of Beatrix, the flagship mine of one group, to become the managing director, CEO of the neighboring company, which was a basket case. But I mean, at 34, your balls are bigger than your brains. You are brave. I had some strong views of what could be done in the industry. And I knew I would never be able to do that on the flagship mine of an old style company. I would be allowed to do just about anything on the burning platform of Harmony. And so I think it was, in hindsight, a smart move. But at the time, people thought madness. But I had great fun.
You say that, at 34, your balls are bigger than your brains. I don't see much of that these days, eh?
I don't know. I think the young...
At 34.
No, I think the young people are brave. We don't give them the chances. And I'm talking the mining industry now. I mean, so there's self-selection. The brave people, the people who want to change the world, they join a mining company and they see this is not going to happen. Then they're going to banking, or they're going to IT, or they're going to other. And good for that. I have no problem. But I am critical that in the mining industry, show me the 35-year-old industry leaders. Now, either we were the last clever people, that's bullshit, or the clever people now don't get allowed to play the role before they are old and stale. You know what I mean? And so I think the industry have become very, and that's obviously all the international and national trends of governance and rules and whatever. But you only get the rule-abiding type of people who stick around in the rule-abiding type of environment. So that sort of frontier, anything goes, let's try new things. The people are there. We just don't allow them. There's not a way in the world that there are not smart, young, 30-year-old people waiting to change the world. I believe that passionately. See that in all the things we do with young people. Every single interaction I have with a young person or groups of young people, I go like, wow, we can step aside. They're ready to take over, but we don't give them the chance to take over.
Yeah, that's how the system has changed, I guess. I recall in those days there was things called succession planning, which you alluded to. Right? We don't see that anymore. It's now if somebody leaves, we go to the market.
Yeah. There's succession planning, but as long as you are 55 and you've been in a role for 40 years. Now, so I'm critical of that. I honestly think if you think is the world less volatile than what it was, no. Listen, 1994, the world was a mad place in South Africa. But, the world's very volatile. Everything's changing. Geopolitics, the cyclical nature of the mining industry, the prices, everything is still very volatile. And therefore, the model by which, you need to have lots of experience of the past, it's a flawed model. I think young people will actually, in many cases, run our companies better than the current sort of stale management.
Yeah.
That will lose me a few friends. Thank you for that.
No problem. Yeah. No, look, disruption is happening. Eh? So I don't think in all models like succession planning, where, as you said, you're just 10 years behind the other guy. So as long as you sound like him, you're a safe bet.
You better sound like him. If you go to Rustenburg, you better speak Afrikaans. If you want to succeed in Anglo, polish up your English. What nonsense. Wear the right suit. Yeah.
Moenie die vyandse taal praat, eh? I've got that told to me a few times in my days in Ellisras.
Yeah.
When I worked at Mescom back in the day. So now you stepped in, let's try and transport the thinking back then to today now. We've got many companies with distressed assets. You stepped in, you took what was a portfolio of dogs, they labeled it, and you turned it into a machine. What skills acquired then are transferable to somebody running a portfolio of diamond mines, for example?
I'm not sure I want to run diamond companies. You know, I don't actually think the skills that you require to run a company successful is so different between a successful company that you want to build further versus a burning platform turnaround situation. Obviously, you will amplify certain skills more in certain situations. I mean, in a turnaround situation, it is simple. As long as you take a decision, any decision is better than procrastination. You know what I mean? So back against the wall. I mean, it's a very easy environment, and that's sometimes why companies declare a crisis so that they can, do stupid things and smart things. That's why presidents like states of emergencies, because you suspend the rules and you can get things done. You know what I mean? So it's easier to do a turnaround. But if you want to do anything sustainable, then you go back to, but you have to do all the right things. The professional integrity of your decisions have to be good. I mean, if you do engineering, the engineering has to be good. If you do, the long-term planning, that has to be good. But I mean, overriding all of this, I mean, in the South African context, the Harmony I joined had 43,000 people. Clearly, it is a people game.
Yeah.
Clearly, you sign up to try and excite people. I mean, I often joke, I mean, the business plan when I joined Harmony, title was Closure with Dignity. Now, you can imagine how you excite 43,000 people to get up in the morning, clock in at 4 o'clock, go underground to close with dignity. I mean, it's the madness of, of the Lord sitting in London and Joburg thinking you excite South African underground workers with closure with dignity. So you miss or you drop the people component or you don't. And so, like I say, the genetic skill of giving people something to get excited about, now it became even more profound. I mean, you won't employ a young person if they don't feel, there's a deeper, higher purpose to what they do. I mean, so it's really never been different. So my dad, when he worked as a carpenter, I mean, he didn't think he was going to change the world through carpentry, but he thought that salary will, make his kids' lives better as he did. Today we find purpose in different sort of things, but to convert a narrative of a company into something exciting. Now,
you took closure with dignity to the Harmony way with a beautiful change in logo as well.
With arrow. That came over the years. There are obviously sort of significant sort of steps, but I mean, just talking as if we're not here to die, talking as if we're here to grow, then you still have to take tough decisions. I mean, we still did mega retrenchments, layoffs. We still shut down shafts. When we did acquisitions, we typically impacted significantly on the cost structure of that. So it's not as if this is a rah. I mean, let's all just go and win the World Cup. I mean, you still have to practice. You still have to break a few bones. You still have to, sort of do the other thing. But the people aspect of leadership is always the key ingredient. And of course, in most industries, we don't set out with the right skills. As a mining engineer, there was not a lot of people skills, I then went and did a financial qualification, even less people skills.
Where did you get your people skills?
No, by messing up. I mean, you come out of varsity, your first job, you get and 20 people because you white, you are the boss of the 20 people who may have been there for 20 years, So, I mean, so we learn by screwing up. I'm not saying that's the right way, but that's how the technical skills that get us into senior positions are not the skills we then need to succeed. So you became a leader by being a good engineer or a good accountant. And then what? And where do you pick up your leadership skills? Now, some of these skills can only be picked up in practice, you function as a leader. But I don't know, we do some damage in that process. I'm sure there are lots of people I need to apologize to for what I've done to them in this attempt to become a leader.
Yeah, no, people say that you were a good storyteller, even underground in the boardrooms. Is that something you intentionally did, or did you, because you were actually a good communicator, was what some say?
I've got a few trophies for apparently being a good communicator. I don't know what the hell it means other than surely you want to help people to understand, on the one hand, how you see the future of the company, what excites you about it, and then facilitate and help them to find their own story into that.
So you put effort into that, and I want this for the message for the young engineers and accountants. You know, the high EQ, high IQ, lower EQ type. What's that message? Go and work on your communication skill.
I say it, everybody who's ever listened to me will know. If I could go back and be 35 again, I would have earlier learned about the skills of storytelling, and I would have learned the skill of listening. And I'm speaking to men especially. All cultures, the male side of that culture is bad at listening. I mean, what got me to be a CEO at 35 was not my listening skills. It was my telling skills. It was my decisiveness, my activator. It was fantastic. It gets you there, but it's very dangerous. You get there, on your cleverness, and then how do you stay there? So storytelling, as a mindset, and listening as a skill. Jeez, I mean, as men, we don't do it. And in the white culture, listening is not something that gets you rewarded. So you have to sometimes just say, there are some strengths in who I am and my culture, and there's some weaknesses. And I think for leadership, shutting up and listening is not so bad.
For a 35-year-old that's running their own company, who's, didn't have to be given a break, but is the CEO, what's your advice to them?
I don't know if I've got the key or the recipe for every other industry. Remember, I mean, even 30 years ago, that was a 100-year-old industry. What worked for that industry ceased to work. So it was an industry desperately in need to do things differently. So my view of what needed to be different, I mean, I'm not saying that was the right view, but it needed different approaches. So I would hope at 35, you really, really still have the fresh perspective and you back yourself to bring that to an industry. I mean, do you really think banking can't and shouldn't be disrupted? Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, then give me the industry and I tell you, it can do with disruption. And that is what, if I could ever be 35 again, I would. And I mean, at 35, I had 16, 17 years of experience. So it's good experience. But I still could see what was wrong, in my opinion. And I still had the guts and the opportunity to try and attempt to fix that. I'm not claiming I fixed it, but it was fantastic fun trying to fix some of that. I mean, it really. So that really just means that you need to have enough confidence. And confidence on the continuum to arrogance, you need to play very carefully, but you need to still believe that things can be done differently, that you may be able to play a part in that, even if your part is just to lead the 40,000 people who really do the job to do that, and go for it. Man. I mean, I have the guts to go for it.
Okay. What about policymakers? Do they need disruption?
Yes, of course. I don't know if they need disruption or removal. Now, deep down, I will always be an anarchist. Of course, you need rule makers, but my gosh, we've allowed the rule makers to be deeply entrenched now. I mean, and this is worldwide now. But that's what would regulators do? They would regulate, and of course, I'm not absolutely sure you can live with the chaos of whoever, the freedom of those who got the money or the whatever. But we've gone too far. No, I would love to, see somebody really trust that people can actually do things, better for the best.
And so I want to move the story now to South Africa and our beloved mining industry. Do you think the sun setting, I've been in mining for 21 years. I've been told when I was at Anglo Gold Ashanti, the sun is setting on the gold industry. I mean, look at it today. Yeah. It's record prices, eh? Yeah. What do you think? Is the sun setting on any maybe subsector of the industry for us in SA?
Well, I mean, for gold, I mean, obviously, to some extent, true. Now, the Goldfields and Anglo Gold has effectively left the country, with the exception of South Deep that gold will still own. And therefore, the overall South African narrative on gold is we don't employ 500,000 people anymore. We employ 100,000 or 60,000. The harmony story in that was always the acquirer of the assets that the other people didn't any longer want to own. And so Harmony is a fantastic success story. I mean, Harmony is a sunrise story in the sunset story of gold. But the gold narrative, which is that narrative of sunset industry, has spilled over to mining in total in South Africa, and that's absolute nonsense. I mean, PGM is a fantastic success story. And as long as the world
You bullish about PGM?
yeah, and as long as the world needs PGMs, it's not like they've got a choice. They can talk to South African Zimbabwe, and the Zimbabwean mines are owned by the South African companies. Right? No, I mean Russia's. It's a byproduct story of the product that I am the least optimistic. I mean, the palladium story of Norilsk. There, I'm not discounting it, but I mean, if you talk about PGMs in any basket, it is about South African assets, and that's a fantastic story. I mean, you could tell any 12-year-old kid growing up in Rustenburg to go and study mining engineering, and she will retire at 65 in the PGM industry if she so wishes. And I mean, so that is but one example. And then, of course, in the end, we are endowed with fantastic manganese ore bodies, fantastic chrome ore bodies, the world's best. You know what I mean? And so you go on. And in a cyclical business, there are times, I don't know what, if diamonds ever come back. And diamonds already moved beyond South Africa before this happened. So you really have to have this conversation on a per sector level. But South Africa is endowed with two of the most phenomenal geological phenomena, the Witwatersrand Basin and all the gold associated with that, and then the Bushveld Igneous Complex with all the magic that happens around that. And so we will be mining in South Africa for the next 100 or 200 or 300 years. I have absolutely no doubt.
Fantastic.
Do we do the right things? Should we do better? Of course, man. That's like us South Africans. Of course we can do better. I mean, even after we won the World Cup in rugby, we still know we can do better, Yeah, here we are more like Bafana. We get knocked out playing against ourselves, I mean, and we do self-harm.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change. I mean, the long-term view, easy to be optimistic. The history, phenomenal. And the present, it's got fantastic opportunities for us to do better.
Before we move on to the plight of the junior miners, I want to close with you. The pyrometallurgy conference that you had, there was some excellent commentary on how to save the ferrochrome industry with AI and was it Professor?
Professor Glenn. Yeah, from Wits, yeah?
A fantastic comment you made there.
Yeah.
And I saw the wish list, and I'm going to call it just that. Like to get all of that in sync, that is utopia. So,
and yet utopia, there are countries that create functioning utopias. I mean, listen, whether you like or hate it, Boykie from Pretoria. Elon Musk could not succeed in Pretoria. He could, regardless of how clever he could only succeed in an ecosystem. And so government should accept the responsibility to create ecosystems. That is their job.
Yes.
They must create an enabling ecosystem in which us dumb engineers can then play a role, and the miners can mine, and the beneficiators can beneficiate. So that wish list, the problem with that wish list is we do not think we've got a capable state anymore. This same country where the state built Eskom, the state built the IDC, they came together to build my business in Nelspruit. It was we don't want to defend the apartheid government. Their agenda was horrific, but there was capable professionals that created an enabling environment where I am sure the people who built MMC were normal South Africans.
Bernard, if you were the Minister of Mining in South Africa today, what would you change?
The rand would collapse. Huh? That would be good.
Let's say you were Minister Swanepoel. Tell me, what are you changing today, this week, this month?
It really is. It is obvious, isn't it? No, I mean, we must have enabling policy. We don't have to invent any one of them. The world has got clear winners and losers. It starts with ownership, not the ownership that we had where Anglo owned everything, and if they didn't develop it, it didn't matter. So we modernized the ownership structure to where the rights reverted to the state, and there are rules. Those rules are fine, but stick to them. So use it or lose it, and therefore explore it, and and take all the other political agendas around it away. So does it really matter for the country if it is a deployed cadre of the ANC who gets the mineral right, or a entity that can actually raise the money? I would identify that what in 20 years from now would say that my term was successful. In 20 years from now, we need to have a vibrant junior sector. But in 20 years, it's not going to happen overnight. But in order to have that, we need to enable that space now. And we cannot make the rules of the world. I mean, in the world, you have to have the environment in which a dollar that could be spent in Australia, Canada, or the DRC choose to be spent in South Africa. We're in real competition. And pretending that we're not is what goes wrong. So create that environment. Look at what works in the world. Give people access. Don't load the prospect of discovery with costs, with rules, with whatever. Make it easy to get the permit, make it as cheap as possible, and then incentivize people like the world too. We incentivize people to come and do the dumb thing of exploring for minerals. And of course, bring technology, AI. I mean, we don't have to, go back to the past. We can bring new technology. South Africa is underexplored, shockingly underexplored. Why don't we change that? But no politician wants to, in 20 years, be congratulated for the smart things they do. We want to be popular in the short term. And, so it's as simple as that. Why don't we fix that? Right. And that is exactly what you will hear in 2 weeks when we have our junior Indaba. We will talk about this. We will talk about why can Botswana get this right? Why can Namibia eat our breakfast? Why the DRC? Have you been to the DRC? It is a scary place, and they've got Ebola. And they've got Ebola. And yet, people are going there. So how do we lose against those countries, and what is it that we can do? And you're going to hear success stories from other countries, and you're going to hear frustrations from South Africa.
Is the new bill that's coming up, the 2025, what's it called? The Mineral Development Bill, is that meant to enable or at least make it easier for juniors, cut through all the compliance?
I don't know. I just read what, I read when people say they expect to be in it, and it's horrific. We're trying to legalize illegal miners. We're trying to bring in zamazamas into the space. Of course, a country or a society have to deal with all aspects. But I mean, this is like saying your copper thieves are going to be brought into copper mining. I mean, no, let's just focus on what mining is. Mining is discovering new ore bodies, bringing best technology, allowing capital to flow into that, to build mines that can actually, within a legal framework, compete in the rest of the world. I am not optimistic about a new bill doing any of that.
Now, banks work on something called the RAROC, risk-adjusted return on capital. How do we attract funds flowing into the exploration sector, the junior exploration sector?
Well, you de-risk it. You give them flow-through shares. You give them tax benefits. You actually crowd them in by doing some of the work. You make the geological database of the country available. You pool resources and bring AI. So that's what you do. So anybody wants to come and say, I bring $1 and I've got a chance of taking back $2.
Yep.
In South Africa, we say, you bring $1, we take 80 cents, we tax you for this, and then when you're successful, we take half of that and give it to somebody else. And by the way, we don't like you because you're a capitalist pig. You can see why we don't win.
So why can't we just do that now?
No, it will happen. Guys, let's just take a long view. So this madness, we're a teenager as a country. We're at maximum madness. Our hormones are running. We have got pimples in our face, and we are stupid as a country. We won't be stupid forever. Of course, we'll get this right, hopefully in my lifetime.
You've never failed to challenge, conventional thinking, Bernard? Do you think leadership today has become too cautious in mining?
Yes, and I'm not critical. Of course. I mean, I actually personally wrote my annual report. Not a word went out that in my bad English. I had people that helped me with the English. I mean, a company now published 6 reports. There's no CEO who can claim that he knows what's in there. No CEO wants to go to jail for that. So there are departments, so there are rules, and then there are all sorts of stakeholders. And so the net result is it's a rules-driven environment. In a rules-driven environment, do you want a risk taker? No, we preach risk, appropriate returns, and we want to pretend that we take all the risk out. Now, if there's no risk, there should be no return. And so the big lie of the world is we can, through rules, take all the risk out and generate magic returns. It is a lie. I mean, we can stop lying to it. It is a lie. And that environment means that I don't think anybody ends up at the top of a mining company with any risk-taking appetite left in him or her. You would have been fired. You would have been fired somewhere in the process for taking a risk, because not all risks work out fantastic. If you take enough risks, it's like a cricketer and his batting average. If you've got a 50 batting average, you have a few zeros in there as well. In the current world, you get fired the first time you have a zero. The first time you have a failure. I'm not convinced that we've got the risk-taking appetite left. I don't think we have made failing acceptable. Our society doesn't like bankruptcies. If you fail, you're dead, etc., etc., etc. And so culturally, it's not who we are. Corporately, it's no longer who we are. And therefore, we are laggards and not leaders. No?
Yeah. Just come back to the capital question. Do you think, because you need patient capital, right, in mining?
Yeah.
Do we need to look to the South African banks or the global banks?
No, I mean, the banks, with respect, I mean, no, banks can't and aren't funders of mining projects. The one thing that I was part of, this dismantling of the South African mining house structure. When we got back into the world economy, that was the first thing we did. That was the right capital base to build deep-level gold mines. It was only the Anglos and the Goldfields and the Rand mines of the world that had the capital basis to spend money and patiently wait for 20 years. That model doesn't exist, and therefore those mines don't get built anymore. And now you can only build the mines where you can lie to the funder and say, in your 7-year tenure that you are prepared to give me money, I will give you revenue. We know it's not going to happen, and we will renegotiate. But so the mismatch between capital, patient capital, I mean, private equity coming into mining, it's hilariously funny. I mean, they're going to burn their fingers, and they're going to, and of course you can get lucky. You can get in and the market blows up positively, and you get out and you tell the story of how clever you are. But patient capital, this is why China wins. I mean, patient capital, generational capital.
They plan 50 years in advance, eh?
You can take a long view, and you will be right in a long view. And so it's very difficult to see outside. And this is really why mining companies need to get bigger. They need to have their own balance sheet. The $1 billion debt they put on the balance sheet is not directly tied to the project. It's balance sheet debt. And so, I mean, this plays out in the way it plays out.
So, I mean, we've seen it. The juniors, they come in. Eventually, they get controlled by the major next door.
But that is the perfect game. No?
And that's the game.
Yeah. The hyenas come and do the first eating, or whoever does the kill. And I mean, there's an ecosystem. Right. I mean, the juniors who dream from going from discovery to building a company, very few of them succeed. But in the ecosystem, you need a lot of these people sniffing out the opportunities, and then they get taken over and they go and live in Plettenberg Bay or Stellenbosch, and and the game carries on. I mean, that is how the ecosystem is meant to work. Major companies do not do great exploration. That is also proven. So that's not their space. And they do that to pacify shareholders or politicians, but they're not great at that. So you need the right type of people to do the exploration, juniors and explorers. And if they get lucky and the commodity price is right, they get bought out for a fortune, and the major builds a proper mine with a 50-year life.
Okay, so the junior miners out there that want this next break, I guess they need to come to the conference. Yeah, do some network.
Listen, I mean, that's not a conference with a specific agenda like that. I mean, the purpose is to explore what is inhibiting us. Why aren't we succeeding? What can be done? And I mean, to the credit of the policymakers, we do have the right South African policymakers in the room. I mean, they sit there for the 2 days. They're here. I think they're here.
As the majors now with them leaving, the ones coming in, do they also have that mentality of teaming up with the juniors and creating a more enabling environment?
I mean, part of our South African problem, I think, in my time, is every South African CEO talks a diversification away from South Africa story.
Yep.
So, I mean, it created fantastic opportunities for the harmony I inherited.
Yeah.
We didn't have to go anywhere. We could just buy the stuff that Anglo Gold and others were leaving behind or wanting to leave behind, you know. But in time, you know, the narrative is, but, you know, I need to diversify away from South Africa. I think with this flexible working, we should just move all the CEOs to where they want to be, New York, London, and leave, you know, let the company at least still be South African. No, it's not easy to, you know, it's not easy to see corporate strategies which is South African focused. And I think the generally held wisdom, which obviously then implies it's wrong, is that if you are South African, you must become less and less South African. That's not my view, but I see that in almost all of the companies. The world order is being disrupted. I'm not saying it's good. I think some of the clowns doing it, I think, are despicable. But in disruption, there are fantastic opportunities. I mean, if I was 25 and I was in the mining industry, I would work very hard to get to a position where I could have fun. I mean, there are going to be new ownership structures. There's going to be new technology. I mean, there's going to be new mines to be built. I mean, to me, it's
Something, yeah.
I never chose mining, but my gosh, if I could go back and I knew what I know now, I would choose nothing but mining for sure.
Brilliant. So leave our investors maybe watching over the next 12 months, right? Where do you see the yields coming? Do you see it in which stocks to buy? Firstly, in which subsector? And then do you buy the stock or the ETF? Do you buy the commodity or the management?
Yeah, I mean, why the hell would you buy the ETF? That's like buying, you know, that's why buying the station because you want the Wi-Fi. Now, so obviously, I think the leverage will always sit in the stock, the you know, the mining company share.
Yep.
You know, of course, I would own gold, and I do. Why wouldn't you own gold? No, I don't own Bitcoin. After many years of trying to understand it,
ask you, gold or Bitcoin?
I don't understand the use case for Bitcoin. You know, I mean, they've also reinvented themselves. Then they digital gold, then they not, then they whatever. So I don't understand Bitcoin, but good, somebody can play Bitcoin. I don't have to. But I mean, gold shares are probably gonna convert the current high profits into very good cash flows and dividends for the foreseeable future. It always comes back to what's your view on the commodity price. No? Now, obviously, all of the input costs of mining goes up. So you have to look at the mining company and say costs are going to go up by 10% a year, not 2% a year. Throughout the world. I mean, that is just what will happen. That's the oil price. That's the mining company use commodities to mine. So we're going to have higher costs. But, I mean, at the current gold price, the gold shares are printing money. They are printing money. For the moment, the model that brought us in here is, and that money must be paid out to shareholders as dividends. And so you can do an easy calculation. And I mean, if you don't own a DRD and a Harmony share, I wonder what you are owning, you know, and what you're smoking. So, I mean, to me, that's sort of obvious that that's a space where you can really participate in this external environment. The chaos of the world comes, and we as South Africans can't say we had to be invested in New York. We can invest in South Africa.
What about PGMs or gold?
No, the PGMs.
Where would you put your money first?
No, I don't think it's a perfect either or. I mean, that's a black and white view, which I'm not qualified to have. I do think your pure PGM players gives you the exposure. So PGM was a hyped up story of the end is near, the next sunset industry. Nobody believes that no more. And so it's not. So then you get down to, you know, do you buy a Nordam or do you buy a Volterra or do you buy Implats? And quite honestly, I think the market values those companies correctly relative to its intrinsic value. But if you don't own platinum shares, again, I mean, I think platinum is an integral part of our country. They are undervalued relative to almost any other thing, and so there's it's not. Listen, I'm not a stock picker. I'm not an analyst. I don't give financial advice. But I obviously am very comfortably owning platinum and gold shares.
Me too. Do you see any corporate action coming up in the next 12 months? M&As, consolidation, yeah? Where would you see it?
Well, I mean, it's necessary now.
Mm.
So on the one hand, if you're not big, you're irrelevant. You know, I mean, just the fund managers are getting bigger. The funds are getting bigger. You know, a little harmony as a 10 billion rand or whatever. I mean, it's just irrelevant. So
Yeah.
you need to be bigger to be relevant. You know, there are some other benefits, but just I mean, and then there are some illogical fragmentation. I mean, you know, I built harmony on Bobby Gottschall's narrative of removing farm fences, putting all bodies logically back together, you know, and there was enough truth in that, and I certainly believed in that. And so I think there's the issues of consolidating, you know, into more logical things, and I think the PGM industry is very, very ripe for that. And then there's the more localized, you know, but I've mined to here and you can't mine there. I mean, the all body sort of benefits. So I think in mining, your majors need to grow or to sustain themselves. They need to buy, you know, the mid tiers. So I will be very surprised if we don't have a very active M&A here in mining in the whole world. But I mean, South Africa is part of it. I mean,
Oh, well, whatever you're not doing, you're doing a fantastic job. And Mr. Swanepoel, thank you for being on the Dealmaker Diary.
thank you very much.